Video number 1C, the book and age of Revelation, through the progression of Genesis, book and age. Scriptural calling. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words, whose voice is not heard. Their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the ends of the earth. From Psalm 19. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. Isaiah 65, verse 17. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118, verse 22. Part 1. Genesis chapter 1 through 9, forward. Thesis of intent. We are not concerned with the infinity of God before all creating, even in God first creating. For in this, before all creating, only the singularness, God is love, God is Trinity, God is one. Nor its created parallel, the primariness of Scripture, the creation, fall, redemptive states for individuals. Nor the breaking of the covenant gospel of Adam and Eve with God, nor the betrayal of God's love in them and to each other, with themselves and God, Trinitarian love, nor even with the disobedience of Adam and Eve with love and good, for good and evil. For while all these primary states are the essence of Scripture and what the progression is, we are mostly concerned with what, from God's poetic and creational word, we can equal with a theology of science and fiction will become the civilization and creational order of the book of Revelation. And thus we hope to serve the primary message of the gospel, future tense. For how does God, creation self, become one and the same? How does love become only an attribute of good, evil creation? How does a city, queen, civilization become all territories, atmospheres, dimensions? How does one preach, give, and suffer for the gospel in the age of the good and the impression of eternity? Part 2. Genesis chapter 1 through 9 forward. Scriptural evidence of intent. Behind every temptation is a threat. For if I do not accept either the gift or the benefits of the work, what will I be? Where do I stand? Of the three-dimensional theologies and what they are integrated into in the creational order and civilization that is the future of the inversion of Genesis, the Trinitarian question becomes the essence of the territories, atmospheres, dimensions that are present, as they always have been. For this is the progression one way or another. All three are present tense. Two are threats, one is before origin, and a prophetic promise through the fallen states. Those that would wage war as a creational order and civilization against heaven have their wisdom of great counsel with the absence of the heart. The judgment, works, and gifts, the giving and taking away of both immortality and the sickness of it by itself, is embodied in good, evil creation. That is the city, the queen, the civilization in the created dimensions, Babylon the Great. Its theology is creation, God, self, being one and the same in the book of Revelation. The beginning is the key of the inversion of Genesis, wherein even as the book is simultaneous a parallel. 3 theological orders. The use of immortality into worth, being, and use embodies 2 of them in creationism and Satanism. The second is subservient to the former until God puts it into their hearts to destroy her and the creational order. With the former, as was said, creation, God, self, good, evil, creation. And with Satanism, good, evil, God, wherein both love is only a passing attribute. Further, even good is abandoned and only evil exists until the final acts of God. If there is a shadow to the beginning of such an age, it is in the rediscovery of spirit as an exist element, as is found in the 1st chapter of Genesis, wherein there was no need for death or bloodshed for any creature. Both theological orders having a form and appearance of godliness, but denying its power, is the embodiment of everything God is this side of creating. Thus, both the creational order and civilization, and then Satanism, will reject the absurdity of God as love, Trinity, one, the infinity of God in the created. This is the conflict for evangelism in those days. As to the prolonged and flexible nature of time, space, motion, and all their use, as in the days of Noah, of all things created, except wherein God's love is integrated in the created. Thus, the denying the very power of God and having the appearance or form of godliness is the very essence of the isolation of God, self-creation, being one and the same. And while the use of time, space, motion, as their substance and texture, can be real in its deception, for all created are made of exist elements, it cannot be true of God's origin in creating, and real of the created origin, if it has no self of its word of origin, be it the itself of non-creatures or the a-self of creatures. With humans only, God can place the presence of love in the created, and with all the created, the good, in its phenomenological Trinitarian state. Without this, the created falls within its multiple selves. What then is the final of the progression? Thus, nothing less than a Promethean state for a Promethean people, for a created order and civilization of a new people in their thinking, being, doing, and the creatures and things they make along with as humans. The Christian will be thought of as the old man, not the new man, the waiting ones, who will not accept good, evil creation as God's self-creation, in the further essence of the inversion of Genesis, from the fall as origin, unto the Tower of Babel, parallel Jacob's dream, as the completion of eternity. In the immortality, in the buying and selling of immortality, mark of the beast, subject to the judgments of Babylon the Great, in the forced division of and selling of the bodies and souls of men, and for some, the futile seeking of death and not finding it, because they have renounced the acceptance of redemption and salvation through Jesus Christ, true God and true man. They're lingering for shadows of what is found in Luke chapter 16. So for now, they can wait to be used, and then the judgment. After the death and destruction of Babylon the Great, city, queen, civilization, For God has put it in evil's heart to do this. Thus, what then of evil by itself? Evil does have its deepest deception in the cry of evil alone. It is better to be condemned than saved, for therein is freedom. There is only work in the good, and the relation from that work, as in a reward. It is controlled by the good. It is a lie built upon a half-truth. There is no freedom in the good, or evil as dominant. Thus, it is a lie, for there is only freedom in love. From the Trinitarian relation of God, Adam, Eve, there was the presence of love. Love is freedom, unconditional, unbreakable. And after the fall, love was translated into grace of salvation, redemption, and the sins that are remembered no more. Thus they never existed. In the good, there is no freedom, for how else could it be good in thinking, being, doing? Thus is its nature from its being created. It is an attribute of love. In evil, there is only separation, and without good and love as an attribute, it cannot sustain itself. Love is an attribute because of the fall. By the end of the inversion of Genesis and Revelation, it is finished and complete. The new creating can begin. This is the end of video 1C. Please go to video number 2. Thank you, Joseph.